Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to our budget series where we talk personal finance and a lot more. Today we're going to cover fixed versus variable expenses, but before we get into that, please subscribe to the channel if you have not yet subscribed and hit the bell for notification of our upcoming videos. We have so much good stuff coming your way that we'd love for you to know about it when we do post it. So, fixed versus variable expenses. Fixed expenses are those that are typically the same amounts each month. So you know what to expect, you know what you're getting into, and you can easily write that into your budget plan. Variable expenses, on the other hand, are those that vary. They change. You may spend $5 one month on something and then $50 another month in the same category. So it kind of feels like these expenses aren't the ones that you know what to expect for. However, you can take control of your finances and budget an average amount into them, and then you know that if you didn't use it up one month, then you can either apply it to paying back your debt or putting into your savings account, or you can keep it in that category, what you didn't spend in the first month, and allocate it to the same category in the next month, knowing that you may spend more. So that, if that is confusing to you right now, don't worry about it. We'll go through it. But that's it in a nutshell, where your fixed expenses are, you know what to expect and you know those numbers very well. And your variable expenses are those that fluctuate based on your usage or based on how much you spend on something. So some examples of fixed expenses are those that are rent or mortgage payments. They typically do not fluctuate. We're talking about insurance premiums, where it's the same thing taken out each month, or maybe it's once every 6 months, but you can divvy it up so you know how much to save for. And then what else are some fixed expenses? Maybe your telephone bill will be on it because your bill doesn't fluctuate because you have an unlimited plan, so it's not based on your usage, it's based on how many lines you have open. You can have a fixed charge like a sewer capacity charge, which if you live in King or Snohomish counties of Washington State, you'll be more than acquainted with it. It is not based on your utility usage, it's a charge that's charged to you if your house is a certain age and for a certain amount of years that they charge that. A couple of other things that are fixed expenses can be like your car payment. If you have a loan that you're going to be paying off for the next 36 months, or if you have a HELOC on your house, things like that you know what to expect, you know they're going to be taken out. Whether we want it or not, we know that we need to allocate these numbers into our budget to account for them. So variable expenses are then expenses that change in number. They may be your telephone bill if it's based on usage rather than how many lines are open. They can be even utility bills that fluctuate based on usage, such as electricity or water. If your home is heated with electricity, then it's understandable that in wintertime, these numbers will be a lot higher than in summertime because you're using up the heat factor in it, so your bill may skyrocket. Or if you have both heating and AC based on electricity, then your bill can vary, it can fluctuate, but it can still stay relatively the same. So based on the features that you have and how you use them. It can be your shopping tendencies, because we can say that during the rest of the year we are very conservative in our shopping and we're being very budget friendly, and then the holiday season sneaks up on us, or birthdays, things like that, anniversaries. And for that, we'll have a separate video down the line where for Christmas, start saving up 6 months ahead of time so that you're not going to be overwhelmed by the spending that you are going to have, and you know you're going to spend that money in November and December. Variable spending can also be things that you spend on your pets or on food or on toys, on doctor visits, maybe things that are not part of your regular schedules. Now, as people, we are creatures of habit and we love stability. Whether we think we're adventurous types or we kind of stick to our schedules, it doesn't matter what your kind of energy intensity is towards life, we still love and desire and are more happy from these two things, where it's stability in knowing what to expect. Kind of like, if I know that I bring in $4,500 a month and my spending is $4,000 a month, I know that I have $500 of wiggle room, and that will make me feel more secure. It will make me feel more competent and kind of more relaxed, less anxious when I am making purchases, because I will know that out of $500, I can spend $12 on a tank top and not feel overwhelmed with it, because I still have an amount and I'm good with it, versus kind of up in the air. I don't know where I stand on any category, and I think I'm overspending, but I'm not sure. But then I think it's necessary to spend that amount, so then I try to justify it, but I don't have enough information to justify it. And so then there's this kind of like raging waves and sea kind of thing on the inside. And variable spending is this category where this process can happen so easily. Even the best of us are surprised by ourselves sometimes. So don't feel like you're the only one that gets intimidated by variable spending. And I do think that it's this category that makes a lot of people totally run away from budgeting. It makes a lot of people want to just run away from even the talk of personal finance. But it's okay, you're in the right place, and you can have good control over variable spending and still have a lot of fun. Let's talk about how to manage both categories of spending. The first one, the fixed expenditure category, I would say it's more of knowledge is power. Acknowledging the list of fixed expenses and just being aware of how much exactly it is that's taken out and when it is taken out. Knowing when can save you a lot of fees, because if you have overdraft fees or you go to like a payday loan to prep for when your mortgage or rent is taken out, it can easily be changed by simply knowing when to expect the bills to be taken out, such as your mortgage or your rent, your auto loan, your student loan, those things that do not change in amounts from month to month. I'll give you an example. You get paid as a W-2, you get paid every 2 weeks on a Friday. Knowing that come, let's say, January 1st, you'll have a mortgage or a rent payment. If you know exactly how much to expect, you can open up your bank account in like mid-December and look and say, hey, I have just enough to cover my mortgage, just enough to cover manageable amount of food, and maybe a little bit towards like a want that's not a need, but I only have like $48 to play with in the fun part, right? In the want category, but not need category. All of a sudden, you know to cut sharply back in the next 2 weeks, because unless you get paid before you have your mortgage taken out, you know that that amount is going to be withdrawn whether you have it or not. So if you're going to go on a shopping spree and be like, I've always wanted to have a DSLR camera and I really, really want one, and it's like holiday shopping season, so I'm just going to like go and browse around, and then you find one that you love and you're like, oh my gosh, I really want it, and it's $200 off. I'm pulling these numbers out of my head. I'm just, work with me here. But you're like, and it's $200 off. When is it going to be $200 off again? So you spend the money, and then come January 1st, you realize you have, a couple of day lag time typically to pay your mortgage or rent without fees from the mortgage or rent company. But then you realize there's a whole week that you have to wait, at least a week, until the next time that you get paid. So your choices at that point are pay a late fee on paying your rent or mortgage, or some people may go towards a payday loan. I do not encourage it. I do not see it as a viable solution. It should not even be on your, cards on the table. It should not even be something that you would consider doing, because the fees are so high that you're just forking over money, paying fees over fees, which you could be using to actually pay off your debt. You could be using that to actually put food on your table. So that's an important part of it. Knowing when expenses are taken out. And then let's say you pay off your mortgage that month. So you pay down your mortgage in the beginning of the month or rent, and you're like, hey, I'm feeling good about it. And then I'm going to have another paycheck that's coming in. And this is when most people get in this, I don't know what's going on. There's like a haze. There's like this fog that doesn't allow much clarity. And you're like, I thought I had money coming in. Like, I was the responsible adult. I paid my mortgage or rent. And then I had a whole paycheck that came in. And somehow I don't have enough to pay my auto loan or to pay my insurance on the 27th when it's taken out. What's going on? Like, I don't know what just happened to my money. And then we think life is unmanageable, finances are unmanageable. This is nobody understands it. Everyone's in debt. So that's it. I'm giving up. But the truth is, if you know that you're going to have something else taken out on the 22nd or 27th, then you're like, okay, out of my second paycheck, I'm going to write that number down. I'm going to deduct all my fixed expenses. And then the rest of it, I'm going to allocate to correct categories. And all of a sudden, you're like, I do have enough money to spend on food. I do have enough money to go get that massage that I've been wanting. And I shouldn't feel guilty for it because I can fit it into the budget. And I know that these expenses get paid. And now I can use some of these into the wants category. This is great. All of a sudden you have clarity. All of a sudden you feel like you have more control over your budget and over your finances as a whole. So that is how you plan out. You work on timing. You work on knowing when things get charged. And then the second part of it is taking both your fixed or your variable expenses and seeing how you can manage those, because that's a huge part of being in control over things that oftentimes we feel control us. So sometimes when we hear fixed or variable expenses, we automatically look only to the variable expenses to see how we can kind of narrow down and squeeze those numbers and make those work. But from a realtor perspective, from a perspective of someone that has been working on her own finance journey, let's call it, I can tell you that managing those fixed expenses can be just as powerful as controlling those variable expenses. And that is because fixed expenses are not written in stone. They're simply the same amounts that are charged each month. They're not something that you cannot change. For example, if you're a renter, you know that you're not building equity for yourself, and you don't have something that you can turn around and sell when it is right for you, but you know that you can get out of that contract faster. Sometimes on your rental agreement, you'll have a certain amount that you have to pay for getting out of the contract, like an extra month that you pay forward. Or maybe you're like on your 9th month out of a 12-month rental agreement, and you're saying, okay, I only have 10, 11, 12 left. If I leave now, I'm going to be paying an extra month, but only, why would I spend that extra month and leave now if I can just wait 3 months? And here's the other part. You're like, and it may take me a month or two to find my next place. And then you look and you get to know the areas around you. You get to know other companies that offer rent. Like maybe you're going to plan on renting out a townhouse rather than an apartment, or a house rather than a townhouse. And you look at that and you say, I think I'm paying too much for what I'm getting right now. Let me look around and see what fixed expenses I can lower, or gain more and maybe do more. Like maybe if you had a home office, you can actually get more clients and you can have more money, like more income. So then it makes sense for you to a budget in a home office into it. But that is kind of more on the well thought out plan versus I just need to manage this. I just need to lower my numbers. I just need to know that I can fit it in, and that will make me the happiest person in the world right now. So there's no issue in going from like a 2-bedroom to a 1-bedroom, or a 1-bedroom to a studio, if you know that you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it to help yourself, and you're doing it for your future. And it doesn't have to be long. It can be only 6 months that you're like, I can do this. I can make it for 6 months if I live in this like studio setting, because then I'm going to be better off. I'm going to have my debt paid off, and I'm going to be able to qualify for something better or save up for something more. So you can change where you live. If you have a house, we're going to talk about it next on our next video. How much you should be allocating out of your income towards housing, how much you should be allocating towards other categories. But if you find that you absolutely cannot pay for your mortgage, it doesn't matter what the season is of the year. It doesn't even matter how the economy is, because your first and primary objective is to do what's right for you and what's right for your family. So there may come a point where you're like, Sasha, if I was honest with myself, I'd be a lot better off by selling now and having some money left over so that my family can have 6 months of savings saved up, and we won't be living literally dime to dime, like paycheck to paycheck, but you're cutting it so short that it's zeros at the end of each expenditure. Things happen, life happens, and having a little bit of a savings account to get you through those 3 to 6 months will create a lot more stability for you. It can having clarity in your finances, having this sense of stability is worth the world to anybody. But I imagine it's a lot more when you have a family. Like having a little bit of a savings account can create so much stability and less stress and less anxiety that it can be well worth it. So just look at your fixed expenses and don't think that fixed means set in stone, okay? On your variable expenses, think back on cutting back on your internet speed, on your home internet Wi-Fi. Think back on cutting back your phone. See if you have too many memberships on like Hulu or Netflix or Disney or something like that you're like, whoa, I'm paying for 5 different subscriptions. If we only watch 3 of those, let's cut back on the other 2 and maybe rent a movie from time to time on those things, but just concentrate on the 3 that you actually use. So I'm not talking about taking all of your variable expenses and just like cutting them out, slashing, not having any fun. Like you're gonna sit in the dark by candlelight and have to like talk to each other all the time because there's nothing that you can do or use. I'm talking about making things easier, more manageable, and still livable, and have fun living, because at the end of it all, you want to look back and you want to say, I enjoyed this time in my life. So there's a fine line, there's a balance to be had and to be found in all of these things. And my favorite variable expense to slash is going shopping. Now, if we're talking about grocery shopping, a lot of times we go without a list, without a plan, and we just kind of take our time slowly walking through the store thinking, what else did I forget last time? What else do I think I'm forgetting right now? What else will I run out of in the middle of the week that I don't have time to go? And then we over purchase. And this applies to food. This applies to household things where you suddenly end up with like 4 laundry detergents and no softener. And yet now you have to go back to the store to buy softener. Or you buy like 2 or 3 of the boxes of like dish detergent. And you're like, this is enough to last like half a year. Why do I have so much? But these are the things that little by little, they add up to your expenses, and they can cause you to feel like you're running on empty every single month and you don't know why you're running on empty. So simply taking a look at your pantry, taking a look at your utility closet and saying, oh, I already have this. I don't need to purchase it. Or we're running low on something and I see that in my variable expenses, I can use some of this amount and it'll still be fine. We'll still be able to pay all our bills. Let's go and get that thing. So just, it's as much of an emotional roller coaster sometimes to not feel like you're in control of your finances as it is physically being able to control your finances. And just making a list and taking 5 extra seconds to sometimes log into your account and say, I have these 3 expenses that are going to be taking out on the 20 something, and I have enough money to pay for them and go shopping. And then if your thing is like clothing shopping or shoes or purses, or if you just simply buy too many things on Amazon, just being aware of it will help you to realize I don't need to buy all the jeans in the world. But I may be honest with myself and say for the next month, I can't afford to buy any more clothing. So I'm gonna go to my closet and like honestly do a mental inventory of what you have and figure out new fun combinations. You can use the same jeans that you've been using, pair it with a shirt or a top that you don't normally pair with it, and then make it look a little more upscale or formal by putting a blazer on top. And all of a sudden you have a new outfit that to you may be like, but I've worn this so many times before. I want something new for spring. Well, for a month, it may help to save my sanity if I tell myself I can't buy any more clothes right now. And then after that month, I can be like, hey, this is a lot better. I can actually allocate like $50 right now towards going to buy something. And then guess what? Something happens in the brain where all of a sudden when we place a value on something, when we go for it, we take our time and realize what we actually want versus, yeah, it's just a habit. I just throw things in the cart and don't think about it, and then maybe I'll like it, I'll just try it on. If not, I can always return it. See, that's the kind of shopping that gets us in trouble. When we know that we have $50 to spend, and I'm like, I want to get the best for this $50, not what somebody else says or what a mannequin says I should be buying, but honestly, like, I may need a pair of jeans or a cute top that I'm gonna love wearing. And so now I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, this is me treating myself and I'm having fun shopping. So it's changing the mindset from I never get to have fun if I'm on a budget. I never get to spend money on myself. It's just all gonna go towards bills versus I feel like I'm in control of my numbers and I can splurge on myself right here, or I know why I'm cutting back on a certain category because I'm gonna feel better later on. Like in 2 weeks from now. So that's not bad at all. So there you have it, fixed versus variable expenses. I hope you picked up a couple of tips. I hope you have a better understanding of the difference between the two, and that you can have control over either of those categories, and both of them actually at the same time. So thanks so much for watching. Please, if you found anything helpful in this video, or if it led to further discussions for you, comment below, hit the thumbs up, like the video. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Help us grow, help us to learn what's important for you so that we can better deliver videos that will be more of help towards you. And please share this, this channel and this video with as many people as you know that need personal budget help. Maybe it's that little nudge to that friend that you kind of didn't want to tell them, but you kind of want to go about it in a soft way, and you're like, hey, I was checking out this video, and wouldn't you know it, we could all use a little help. There you go. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.